Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for Nerds by Nerds, and today I'm hanging out with Larry Hamilton from Follow Me and Die. He's a RPG blogger, pretty much old school gamer. And how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Excellent. Any better, I'd be twins.
One is more than enough, though, right?
Yeah, you got that straight. That's what my wife would say too. Too many, too many. So what are you up to nowadays?
Well, a little bit of everything. Mostly blogging. I've kind of been dipping my toe into YouTube a little bit. Uh, Not only do I blog on my site, I also contribute to multiverse.world, which is part of the new TSR. So slipping a little plug for Top Secret. They're still running their Kickstarter. So if you want to get in on that, you've got your chance.
I actually saw that Kickstarter, and I was actually trying to get those guys to come on the show, but they have Muggle jobs apparently. So that is my arch nemesis for the daily live chat is the Muggle job.
Right, right. Well, I'm blessed to work from home, so it's easy. I just turn around and face my home computer instead of looking at the work computer. So,
Yeah, we've been pretty lucky with that with people who either have flexibility in their schedule, work from home, or they're lucky enough to be that is whatever they do.
right,
And I like to keep the same time so this way people know when to show up. They know 12 p.m. Eastern time, go to Nerdarchy, something live is
right,
happening, whether we're
right.
playing a game or hanging out with one of our fellow gamers, fellow nerds. So what do you primarily write about on your website?
Well, I started off just telling stories from back in the day. I wanted to make a record of some of the fun things that we had happen with our game since from back in the day, and it was about the same. And it was at the same time that I'd started playing D&D with my sons and wrote a little bit about some of their encounters. And then I kind of got into writing about other old school stuff. I made up a few tables, or uh, there's a every April is A to Z blogging challenge. So every day of the week except Sunday, and I did that for a couple of years. One year I focused on different aspects of building a city. Um, then I've done reviews. Um, I did my first 5e review. I forget the name of the product off the top of my head. Uh, Back a month or so ago, and I've kind of been dipping my toes into doing some other 5e reviews that aren't ready yet.
Cool.
And
So do you have a favorite story from those stories that you shared back in the day?
well, I had this terrible habit as a player. I told this elsewhere online, people can find it, but my brother, when he was the DM, he'd get ready to tell us what was in a room, and I'd say, "It's the Rancor," and I'd make a roar of the Rancor. Well, one day he decided to get back at me, and I think the others might have known about it. And we had all gotten together as all the tough, high-level characters in the game, and we're going after this one thing. And there was this huge room, and as if on cue, I said that, and he pulls out this grocery sack, and then he reaches in and pulls out this like 18-inch tall Rancor. And of course, he had to roll a 20 that we could all see, and it grabbed me and snatched me up, and he stuffed my mini down his throat. I'm like, oh Lord, how am I getting that out of there? But they managed to kill it before my character suffocated. So it was, but I quit doing that after that.
I am quite familiar with that toy, that action figure, the Rancor. Actually,
Mhm.
he makes an appearance in many of our videos. Actually,
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, all right.
he's back in the Nerdarchy set, lair, hanging out on the shelves someplace.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, and we were laughing. I was laughing so hard on it. It was a while before I realized he was serious. I thought he was just ribbing me, but no, we really had to fight the Rancor to get to the next thing.
Be careful what you wish for; you just might
Yep,
get it.
yep.
So, how long you been gaming, man?
Well, I got started with Holmes Blue Box back in 1977 in March or April timeframe. So this is 40 years since I started gaming, because it's also the 40th anniversary of Holmes Blue Box. So, yeah, I guess I'm getting old.
Maybe. I
Uh,
was
but
2.
yeah, junior high. So, yeah.
Nice. It's that's about when a lot of us start, I think. So you
Right.
also had mentioned about gaming with your kids, your boys. How many kids do you have that are gaming or were gaming with
Uh,
you?
well, I have two sons, and when they were both living with me, we were playing fairly regular. We kind of had a few games, then we had a break for a while, and then we got playing again. And my oldest son's girlfriend joined in with us, and we had a few of their friends in and out. And it was at the end there, my two sons and my oldest son's girlfriend, we were playing every week. And they were just having a blast. And I couldn't believe how much improv I was doing. And that you get really good at improv when you do a lot, have to do a lot of it in the game. And so I was really having a blast, and they were having a blast. And it was funny. The first time they ran across zombies, they're like, "Oh my God, they're zombies! They're gonna bite us!" And they're thinking Walking Dead zombies instead of D&D zombies. And it's hilarious. People are all the time talking about, "Oh, you can't use the old monsters." Well, you can't use the old monsters with old players, but if they're new players, every monster is a new monster. They don't know what to do. And it was just hilarious. And another time they were fighting a troll, and he was getting ready to go cut the head off to keep a trophy. And then he decided against it, and it took him forever to kill that thing, because they didn't understand. That was funny.
Those first troll battles are always brutal.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That that's funny. That's funny. You go to cut the head off for a trophy, and their trophy bites you.
Right.
Well, as a fellow father, gaming with your kids is like one of the most rewarding experiences I think that we can go through.
Right.
My son also games, and we're going to actually road trip out to Gen Con.
Yeah, I read about that.
So so that should be a lot of fun. I'm just making sure my ringer's off on my phone.
Oh, yeah. I did that before we started, so.
Sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't.
Right.
So, I know you hit conventions fairly regularly. You got any coming up?
Yeah. Got Gamehole, before Gamehole is Grand Con this September in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's about an hour north of where I live. I'm down in the Kalamazoo area in Michigan. So I'm just going to sign up to play some games there. I don't know that I'm going to be able to make it every day. Then in November will be Gamehole Con. I went last year, and so I'm going again this year. It's very much focused on gaming, lots of old school games. So if you want to be able to play those, you can. And this year I signed up to run games. I'm running two of the same scenario of Gangbusters. And if you didn't know, Gangbusters has made a bit of a comeback. Mark Hunt has a agreement with Rick Krebs, the original author of Gangbusters. So he's kind of cleaned up the rules and simplified things, but it's backwards compatible. So he's working on a Kickstarter at some point. I don't know when that's going to happen. And then I'm running another game called The Front, which is a World War II game based on Black Hack, if you've heard of Black Hack.
Okay.
Which is basically a very stripped down rules. And the way that works out, the DM doesn't have to roll dice unless he wants to. He can make the players do all that work and keep track of that. And then in a week or two later in November is Yukon, which is in Ypsilanti, Michigan. They just opened up to sign up to run games for that, which I need to figure out when I'm going to run there, because I usually run games there because that's just a couple hours away. And then I won't be doing anything until time for Gary Con in it's either March or April. And we have a local convention called Marmalade Dog. How it got that name, I'm not really clear on that. It's in Kalamazoo, and some years it's the same weekend as Gary Con, which it was this past year. But this year, coming year, it won't be. So I'll be getting in on that and try to run games with that.
Nice. So I think GM Juice usually hits that con as well.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of guys that hit that one.
I don't know if you're familiar with his stuff on YouTube or not.
I believe I've seen some, but nothing comes to mind at the moment. There's too many people to follow. I'm like, well, let's see. I guess I'll watch this one this week and this one next week, and so it all kind of blends together after a while.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally get that. So, you playing any regular games?
Yes, I play a weekly Advanced Dungeons and Dragons game every Wednesday. So tonight is going to be session 160 of a game that we started over 3 years ago, and I happen to be the only player that has made every session. And I'm still playing the same character from session one. There's one other guy that has the same character from session one, but he's been sidelined due to internet issues for several weeks. So I don't know if he's going to be able to rejoin us or not. And then so that's every week with that. In the last month or so, I've been running an AD&D game on Sundays.
Okay, and is the Sunday game, is that an in-person game or are they all internet games?
It's all internet. I haven't had an in-person game for a while. I was in a local DCC game in Kalamazoo for a while, but the DM had family has to come first, and so that's kind of been on hiatus for a couple of years. And so I'm like, all right, well, he's got to take care of that, so I'm going to start running something on Sunday. So
I got a little. I sidelined myself a little bit, but you had mentioned, writing for TSR, and they're doing the Top Secret game, and Top Secret was the first game to actually teach me to never trust a romantic interest in a game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I heard you tell that story somewhere on one of your interviews. So
yeah. Oh yeah. I had Sydney on, and yeah, the knockout lipstick.
Oh yeah.
And from that point onward, whenever the DM puts any kind of romantic interest in the game, forget about it. Just murder them.
Yeah. Yep.
Although Ted did a pretty good one where he did this kind of like haunted house adventure. He ran for some of the fans, and they kind of go into the tavern like the normal thing on their way from one adventure to the next, and he basically says, "Hey, there's some ladies of the night there if anyone's interested." And
Right.
someone takes him up on it, and of course, everything is like monsters and stuff, including
Right.
so
That's
good
hilarious.
times, good times.
Yeah.
And it turns out that he designed the encounter, and he thought it was going to be easy, except for the player was by himself. He kept missing, and I think the doors were locked, and the other players couldn't get in. So
Oh no.
he almost killed the character in the opening. But that's all right.
Wow. Well, the DM doesn't kill characters. The characters kill characters.
Zareth Gaming. Oh, actually, he did tell us his favorite story, and that was the Rancor story. And I thought maybe you came in a little bit late, but so Zareth Gaming is there asking what your favorite D&D story is. I don't know if he means from your games or in general, because he had brought up the Rancor story.
Right. Well, let's see. Well, I could explain the Follow Me and Die.
Yes, that would be great.
I started playing, and my brother started a campaign after we graduated high school, and I was on Thanksgiving break from college, and so he was telling me what was going on. So I said, I got to get in on this. So I rolled up a character, and the other guys weren't available, so I was going to have to play solo. So I went with a fighter, cleric, magic user, half elf, so he could see in the dark and heal himself, and etc., etc. Well, then as he advanced in level, he needed to go up against hordes of bad guys, whether they're orcs or whatever, and so he'd go and hire mercenaries. Well, all the mercenaries were getting killed after every encounter, so he's walking out barely walking, and all his mercenaries are dead. So he goes, hires more mercenaries. So after a while, my brother's like, well, why can't I find any more mercenaries? And so my brother says, well, the word's gotten out. It's kind of like Follow Me and Die. So I'm like, okay, that'll be a cool name for a blog,
Nice. So your brother gets the attribution credit.
Yeah.
Nice. Is it older brother or younger brother?
I'm the oldest, so we're close enough in age that we actually went through school at the same time, so we graduated in the same class.
Oh, yeah, he was the DM. Interesting.
Oh yeah, he's a very good DM. I got a story about that. I don't know if you've heard of Chad Parrish with Dead Game Society.
I'm not familiar now.
Well, he has an old school podcast and blog, and he talks about dead games, which are games that are no longer published. So you have to get copies or PDFs or whatever. He was running a second edition Gamma World game at Gamehole Con last November, and I was in that game with him. And we were on a break about halfway through the game, and he got to talking and said that he was originally from Missouri. And I said, oh, well, I'm from Missouri. Where are you from? Oh, it's a small town. You wouldn't hear of it. So he says, Oak Grove. And I'm like, I rattle off the zip code. And he says, yeah. Panthers? Yeah. Orange and black? Yeah. Do you know Robert Hamilton? My brother. So I hold up my name tag and he says, are you related to Robert Hamilton? I said, yeah, he's my brother. And he's like the best DM ever. And I go, I know, right? And I didn't know him because I'm like 7 years older than him. So he would have been in elementary school when I was graduating. So I just didn't know who he was. And he told a story about having to go. He got somebody that was in my youngest brother's class to take him over to my house and try to get into Robert's game. And afterwards, this kid said, oh, he thinks you're too much of a spaz, so you're not going to get in. Well, that's really funny because I told Chad, well, the sad thing is if you'd have got our other brother to get you over there, you'd have probably got in. But the person that called you a spaz, he only got in the game because he had special rules of behavior before my brother would let him in.
Special rules of behavior, huh?
Oh, yeah. So it was funny. Yeah.
Seems like a lot of work when you need special rules of behavior.
Well, certain people that are at that age group, you kind of like get it under control, guys, you know.
So you said you're playing an AD&D game.
Yes, and running one on Sundays.
Nice. So it's one of the things we always say, especially when edition wars come out, and we're just like, you know what, people are still playing first edition somewheres.
Oh, there's people still playing basic. There's a whole forum dedicated to the Holmes Blue Box. There is a kick.
But basic isn't really first edition. Like basic was like just what they packaged to sell for people, like almost like the beginner set, right?
The Blue Box, yeah, because it only went to 3rd level. That's what it was for. And what's interesting about the Blue Box is it said, you want to buy Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And so we saw that, and when Advanced finally started coming out, we bought Advanced, and once we finally had all 3 core rule books, we quit using Blue Box because we had Advanced, and then Basic came out, and we're like, well, that's for babies because it's not Advanced. So I never played Basic back in the day other than the Blue Box.
What? So what are you playing in AD&D? I don't. Oh my God, that means you're using THAC0.
Well, tables, whatever. In AD&D, my character I'm running in the Wednesday night game is a dwarf. He's made it up to 8th level, and he's the highest single level character. There's a couple of mixed class characters that have enough levels to equal that, I guess. So yeah, I've stuck with him. Been in a couple other games online. Got a illusionist in one and a magic user in another. So I play a little bit of everything.
Zareth Gaming, please tell me the AD&D is Dragonlance.
Dragonlance was new when I was playing, and with all the novels and stuff that came out, my attitude was, why would I want to read about somebody doing an AD&D adventure when I can go have my own AD&D adventure? So I've never read any of those novels.
Oh no, heresy. Yeah, I had one of the best covers though. I love the cover on that. And
the covers are pretty cool. Larry Elmore and stuff, yeah.
Oh no, but I'm actually talking about the campaign setting book.
Oh.
Yeah, that was always pretty amazing. We played a little bit in Dragonlance, and of course we loved it because you had a couple monstrous races you could choose from. So
right.
That made it cool. And they added some more classes and stuff like that. So that was, and also that was like the one of the after I want to say after reading Tolkien, that was the first fantasy novel I actually read.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
Well, I know they're popular and it appeals to some people. Just the idea of it didn't really appeal to me, and I guess still doesn't. I maybe ought to read them and see if I think they're any good, but I just haven't read them, so I can't really comment.
yeah, I haven't read them since I was in junior high probably. So I definitely am one. I definitely don't tend not to go back and reread things once I've read it. I think my record is probably for Jim Butcher books with the Dresden Files. I think I've reread the first three books of his series.
Yeah, I need to read some of those. I saw the TV series they did, and I thought that was pretty good, and I had never heard of it before. Uh,
The TV series, I've been told by other people that have read the books and watched it. I've never watched it. Pretty much, it says it's terrible in comparison.
well, I mean, anytime you try to take something that started off as a book and take it to the screen, it's never going to be the same.
No, no.
But I
And
thought it was good enough that intrigued me enough to want to actually read it someday. So, I guess there's the value there.
But also, I'm saying in comparison, not that it was terrible, but
Right.
compared to the books,
Right.
and the books are pretty much always so much better anyway.
Well, they can have detail that and let your imagination build the set. So it's a lot easier with ink.
The Rings, the movies were better than the books. I just could not. I don't think I can go back and read that style of writing anymore.
Hmm.
It's just that the pacing is just too slow. I just like modern writing so much better.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said for the quick read type books. I like those, but I like lots of different styles of writing. So I read a little bit of everything.
So, what kind of articles do you like to do over on the website? Like, if people go over there
Well, you're going to see a little bit of everything.
on there, you've been blogging for a long time now.
Yeah, it's what, 8 years. Come next Tuesday will be 8 years because I started in 2009.
Oh yeah, happy birthday!
Yeah. Um, so I've got some stories from back in the day for early articles, uh, some play reports from with my sons, reviews of different things. People have contacted me to do reviews, and I have a few of those. I've got some other things that I have on my list to be reviewed that I'm trying to work my way through. I also review the Kickstarter stuff that I've backed when I get it. I review what I end up with. I've done in April, there's A to Z blogging challenge where you blog every day but Sundays. And I've done that a couple years in a row. And one year I did how to build a city and different aspects related to a city, like you need a source of water, you need a source of transportation, you need et cetera, et cetera. And then just my opinion on different aspects of gaming. I've put in a few tables and a few other ideas for games. Kind of, my current campaign I'm running on Sundays, I've kind of went into the idea for the backdrop of the campaign. That was several months back.
Cool. So you said you're blogging a little less frequently, but you still have a ton of content up there, so people can go in there
It,
and
it's
find.
Yeah, it's over 650 articles.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a huge resource for people looking to add stuff to their game. So do you have any? Yeah, it's like picking your favorite children, but do you have any favorites or ones that did really well or popular?
Um,
What would you point people to to check out?
well, one that really took off in popularity. My first year at GaryCon a couple years ago, I sat in on a seminar with Michael Whitwer, who wrote the Empires of Imagination book biography about Gary Gygax, and I was the only one there. And he wasn't deterred. He went ahead and just gave me the whole thing one-on-one. So I had a one-on-one seminar with the author of the book, and so I was able to ask more questions than I would have otherwise and get into some things that wouldn't have had time to come up. And they had problems with the TV, so we just sat around and looked at his laptop while he played the video he had. Told some interesting stories about that, and I did a write-up of that afterwards. And it was at that GaryCon where Jason Elliott, who is head of the new TSR, he was in the book, and I was getting everybody's signature in the program guide. And I went up to him and asked for a signature, and he's all geeking out because I'm asking for his signature. And I said, yeah, I might write about it on my blog. And he's like, oh, what's your blog? And I said, well, follow me. And he says, oh, I read your blog, and I want to talk to you. I'm like, what? And that's how I got in with TSR. And so he put that article up on the TSR website, linking back to my own articles. So I think it did really well on both sites. And there have been a few other articles I've done that he says, you know, if you want to link your own articles back to ours and reprint them, that's fine, or original articles. So I've done a little bit of both on the Multiverse blog, and that's at multiverse.world. Other favorite articles. Boy, that's a hard, yeah, that is a hard one with 650. I don't even remember everything I wrote. You know, I'll go looking back, say, I wrote that? Huh. Oh, that's actually pretty good.
That, or you'll find you've written what was the same article twice.
I've probably written the same article 3 times if I wanted to go back and look, you know, because it's like, oh, I wrote about that already. I forgot about that. So yeah.
We'll do videos, and Mike Gold is one of our staff writers, and he's been a long time fan, and he'll be like, you did this video like 3 times.
Yeah.
Or the topic anyway. I'm sure it's not quite the same. I'm sure opinions change.
Right. Oh
You
yeah.
got things
Yeah.
to say, but especially go ahead.
Your mental catalog can't keep up with the volume of product.
Especially with the GM 911s, because a lot of times people just ask the same questions.
Oh yeah.
And one thing is, one is we just like to do the fan service when we can, and 2, we just a lot of times forget what we've actually done at this point. We're closing in on 2,000 videos, so
wow.
Well, video in some ways videos are easier, especially with the format that we have, because we just sit around.
If they're not scripted, you just sit around and talk, and boom, there you go.
Yeah, which most of ours are. And like, how hard is it to get a couple nerds talking about different subjects on D&D?
Exactly.
So they're talking in the chat a little bit. They wanted to know about book recommendations.
Oh my goodness, Thomas Covenant. Who wrote that? There were 2 trilogies back in the 80s, 90s, and I guess he's written 1 or 2 more trilogies to continue the story, but I haven't read the latest ones. That was really good. The Black Company. I don't know that I've read all of those, but I found really good. Conan, man, I recently finally read through all of the Conan stories that Robert Howard wrote, and those are just, yep, I can see where Gary Gygax was coming from, and he favored the fighter types. Fritz Lieber's, not Fritz Lieber, well, Fritz Lieber and
Patrick
Thafford and the Grey Mouser, and Jack Vance and the Dying Earth series. That's where they talk about the original D&D magic system came from, and if you read through those stories, that's really cool. There's too many books to mention. Hobbit, Lord of the Rings.
They're all old school books.
Yeah.
I personally, I am not reading anything currently. And matter of fact, most of my reading probably over the last few years has all been listening, really.
Right.
And now I don't actually have as much time for that. When I was doing the day job, I'd spend a lot of time driving, so it was really easy to put
Right.
something on, and I could use that time. I would have an hour commute back and forth to work,
Oh
and
yeah.
then my job itself was a lot of driving, so I could
Right.
like rip through a lot of books that way.
Yeah. Well, the last 2.5 years I've been working at home, so I don't have a commute, so it's really hard to squeeze in a podcast for some reason.
It is, and it depends on what kind of stuff you're doing. Like if you're working
Right.
from home and and the job you're doing requires you to pay attention or listen, it's hard to
Yes.
have
Definitely.
something going on in the background, or either that or it's going on in the background but you're not paying attention to it, so it's like,
You lose it all. Right. Right.
right, you should have just turned on the radio.
Yeah. Well, when I'm on hold waiting for a client to do something, I can read, but that's about all I can do because if I have something on and they come back, then I got to scramble to hit the pause and that. So I just read stuff, catch up on web comics or whatever while I'm stuck on hold waiting for a client to do something.
um I want to say actually most of the last series that I have read have all been like non-fantasy as well. It's been more like steampunk and
Yeah.
sci-fi, just because I want to say for like the first like 20 years of me reading, I was just like all fantasy, and I'm like, you know what, maybe there's other things.
Well, here's something that's really weird. Starting off, I was more into the science fiction, but for whatever reason, D&D and fantasy has kind of stuck. So I still dip my toe into science fiction and read science fiction, just not as much as I did back in the day.
Yeah, now we're the same way. We like to play other things, but like we always come home pretty much to whatever
Right.
edition of D&D we're playing at the time. Um, when I first started gaming, we would like pull out a different game almost every week. We might have like the regular campaign we were playing,
Right.
but then like someone would show up with like Twilight 2000 or Gangbusters or Top
Mhm.
Secret or
Right.
Star Frontiers or Gamma World, all those old, what was it, Avalon Hill and TSR games.
Mhm. Right.
So you know so Boot Hill was another one. So like
Right.
I've played like a session or two of like 50 different systems.
Right. Right. Well, that's what's cool about Gamehole Con and Gary Con and Yukon is if you've never played an old game or if you played it once and want to try it again, you can find it there, and which is really fun. And you can find plenty of the new stuff as well.
Yeah. So you said something about Gangbusters. So they revised it. That's coming out again.
Well, it's already out with not a complete book. It's got some supplements that have been put out by Mark Hunt. He got a license agreement with Rick Krebs, the guy who originally developed Gangbusters, and he's working on a new uh, full rule set that is backwards compatible with the original, and he's hoping to do a Kickstarter. He was hoping to have it going by July, but I think he's still working on the edit process because he wants to do it right and have everything done before he launches. And so I don't know when it's going to launch.
So someone just asked about if anyone, they just found an old RPG when they're cleaning out their parents' house for riffs, Palladium. So Palladium,
Mm-hmm.
actually, you might like Palladium if you're playing
I,
AT&D.
I I've never played Palladium. People talk about it, and we just didn't. I was in a Twitter conversation a couple days ago where people said, "Well, what did you do to take a break from D&D?" And I said, "Well, Boot Hill, Gangbusters, Top Secret, Metamorphosis Alpha, Gamma World, Star Frontiers." And so he said, "So you take a break from one TSR game by playing other TSR games?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's kind of what we bought because TSR was, quote, the best." And the people that liked other games like Traveler or RuneQuest or uh, Tunnels and Trolls, they tended to be younger guys that didn't do a very good job of explaining things. And so we just weren't impressed. If they could have explained it in a way that would have grabbed our attention, we probably would have tried more than a session here and there, you know.
Sorry, they're getting weird in the chat.
That's
But that,
normal, isn't it?
yeah, it can be. It can be. Do you like Star Wars or Star Trek better? Ah, you know what? I actually like them both a lot. So for different reasons. But I'm more of a
Yeah, that's
casual.
not. That's a both and. That's not. I like them both.
I'm more of a casual fan anyway. So I feel like the casual fans are probably more like me, where like they could watch either. But the diehards that know like everything about each universe, they're the ones that are going to draw the line in the sand
Yeah.
and go to war over which one is better.
Yeah. Oh,
But you
wars
know,
over that stuff is pointless. It's like whatever. It's just like Edition Wars. It's like, I never played second, third, or fourth, so I really can't comment on those. So like, whatever, play what you want to play. If you can get enough people to get a game together, play it. Enjoy it.
yeah, I agree. You know, Star Trek, you basically had Klingons, which are like space orcs, and how can you not love that? And and Star Wars, you had lightsabers. Who doesn't love lightsabers?
We had space orcs in there, the Gamorrean guards. When I watched Return of the Jedi and first saw the Gamorrean guards, I'm like, why do they have orcs in this? Because it reminded me of the orc illustrations and a lot of the D&D stuff.
That's true. I guess I kind of glossed that one over because they weren't nearly as they don't have the cool factor like
Right,
orcs or Klingons.
right, right.
So and so as far as Palladium, they actually Rifts has actually been updated to Savage Worlds. So if you're
Hmm.
familiar with Savage Worlds and you enjoy that
Yep.
game, then you can actually check out Rifts. So the thing about Rifts and a lot of the Palladium games is they're really good with the lore and the history and the
Hmm.
stories, but I don't really care for the mechanics. It is basically you're still playing an 80s style role playing game as far as the mechanics go. And as I've gotten older, I've gone more towards the rules light
Right.
systems, and
I'm the
like
same way.
in the 80s, like it was like how many charts and tables can I cram into this
Mhm.
book? Like
Uh-huh.
it was almost like it was a competition.
Right, right. Well, there was a strong desire for verisimilitude, recreating a sense of really real life. And so you add all these different things, and it's just like it gets to the point where it takes hours to do anything. Whereas with a rules light system, which I'm liking that better and better, AD&D is not rules light, but I know it so well that it seems rules light. But when you start getting into the finer grain things, well, wait a minute, I don't remember that. Where is that? Oh, really? And you can get into all kinds of arguments about that. But um, the simplified rule systems move play along just enough to, you know, 3d6 in order and boom, you're ready to go. I mean, why should it take more than 15 minutes for everybody to have a character ready to play, right?
That's true. I mean, I've enjoyed game like more recently games of Cipher System and Fate. Fate Accelerated. They actually just did a Fate Accelerated Dresden Files too.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God! Now I thought they were getting weird before, but now they're out of control.
Oh, what is it now?
David Leva, Dave, you got to wear a Nerdarchy tube top for the fan service. I'm like, I don't think so, buddy. Although I must say, I do kind of miss the tube top. If the ladies want to bring that one back, I'd be okay with that.
Yep, I remember those days back in the day.
Yeah, yeah, that was totally 80s Hallmark stuff right there. Hey
Yeah,
guys, if you want to bust out the roll call, now's the time to do it. Let me hear where you guys are from.
Kalamazoo.
We got Kalamazoo in the house, Michigan. I thought I saw someone else that said that as well earlier in the chat as well. So, are you playing any other games or just the AD&D now?
Just that. I had done a Metamorphosis Alpha game on Roll20 for a while, and that kind of fizzled. I need to get back into doing that. I signed up to be part of a Roll20 5e game doing Lost Mines of Phandelver, but the DM, the week we were supposed to start, got surprised with work with mandatory overtime. So that I thought was supposed to be over by now. So I don't know if that's ever going to get off the ground. So I've only played 5e here and there, and I don't, I've got the books and kind of read through them and kind of have a general idea. But well, this past Gary Con, I actually was in the game where Satine Phoenix killed one of the characters that I know she talked about on here. And the character I was playing had advantage on initiative. And I was rolling one die all night until the last thing because it was like on the back of the sheet or something. There was just so much on the sheet. And I'm like, oh, I should have been rolling 2d20 all night long. And I did it for the last one and I still lost the initiative. It's just like, you know.
That's not when she killed the kid, is it?
No, that the kid was a different one. This was another player that specifically wanted to play in Satine's game. And I wasn't actually signed up for it, but she's like, oh, you got to come play. And so I'm like, all right. And somebody didn't show up, so there was no problem. I sat down and I guess I was there for moral support. She was really thankful I was there. I'm like, oh, well, cool, thanks. And she did a really good job. And the player didn't even mind that her character died. Satine kind of felt bad about it, but it was epic the way she narrated how it happened. So it was fun.
So did the player narrate or Satine narrate?
Well, they had to make a dex check or something like that to jump onto the lightning rail before this lightning creature got her, and she failed and said, well, the lightning creature kind of just shoots through you and you burst into a shower of sparks, and just an epic way to describe how you're dead, so let's make it a good one. So it was fun.
I guess when Satine says you got to play, you got to play. I'll be in one of their games at Gen Con, so that should be a lot of fun.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
So we have Fishes Twonk from Liverpool, England, Zaref Gaming in New Mexico. Ryan Miller is in Kalamazoo. I saw somebody there.
Oh,
Ryan. What do you think about playing music during your session? We'll get back to that one. David Leva is in Boston. We've got Eureka, California in the house with Kirkish 001. We've got Lincoln with Sweden. We got Bob Goblin, Arkansas. We got Scott Minyard. No, Dave needs to wear a Puck costume from Alpha Flight. We'll see. Maybe. Puck doesn't have a beard, though, and I have to shave, and that's probably not going to happen. We've got Andrew is in Reading, Massachusetts. We've got Ivan in Saskatchewan, Canada. Probably saying that wrong, like I say most things wrong. We got Russellville, Arkansas in the house with Jacob Eldrick. Defender is in Massachusetts. We got, let's see. She jumps on me every now and again and I lose my place. Ivan says, no one from Waterdeep. It's because I don't think I've seen Comic Book University in here to throw out something weird as his thing. We've got Joshua in Boulder, Colorado. We got Frigginator in Redmond, Washington. We've got Charles Cole, upstate New York. Nice. We're practically neighbors. All right, that's everyone for now.
Cool.
And they might start chiming back in because that happens as well.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, I'm playing in the most games I've played in, I think, ever now. I mean, I'm running a couple online games. I just finished up playing an online game with a group from Canada. They were a lot of fun. And and then we have our in-person games, which we have 2 of them going on with me and Ted each run one. And I think we do have a Star Wars game coming up soon.
Cool.
Not sure when that's going to happen.
Awesome.
The same thing, the work thing happened with the GM for that. So
right, yeah.
Curse you, Muggle jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
They're the bane of. So GaryCon is one of the ones on my list to go to as his game.
Oh yeah,
game hole.
They're both awesome. They're not too big. They're small enough that you don't feel like you can't get through. I went to Gen Con in 2014 just for a day, and oh my gosh, it's too big for me.
Yeah, Origins, we did Origins and that was huge. I've actually not been to that many conventions. I'm kind of just like cutting my teeth now. And this year I'm going ballistic with it, with
Right.
Origins, Gen Con, PAX Unplugged.
Right.
But I would like to hit some of the smaller ones as well.
Oh yeah, and there's a few websites that talk about where you can find local conventions, and that's an article I've got on my blog, so you can look that up, where I plug all these different websites where you can find local conventions. So you might be able to find more in your area that you're not aware of, like some of the really small ones. Uh, and I really advocate for people to get involved. If they've got a con that's within 30 miles of them, get involved and make that your home con if it's got gaming.
Your home con, huh? That's kind of a new concept to me. You want to go into that a little bit?
Well, for example, in Kalamazoo, they have Marmalade Dog. I've only been going to that for a few years, and I missed this past year because it happened to be the same weekend as GaryCon. My first GaryCon, I had so much fun and just rubbing elbows with all the old guard that I'm like, I'm coming to this every year. Well, Marmalade Dog being at a university, they have to use the weekend that the university tells them. So on the weekends, it's the same as GaryCon. I'm going to that. But this next coming year, it's going to be separate weekends. And because it's only 20 miles or less away, I don't need to worry about, my only expense is food while I'm there and entrance, and it's only like 15 or 20 bucks for the weekend. It's not really expensive. And if you DM games, it's you don't have a fee that gets waived if you sign up before the end of December to run games. But by being my local con, I want to make sure other people are involved in playing. Because a couple of years ago, we had a really strong old school track, and we had, I don't know, 6 tables or something like that with different people from all around the state coming and running games, and we had a blast.
Hey Ryan, we're playing the Fantasy Flight Star Wars game, not in 5e. Actually, if you've heard me rant, I always rant about people trying to play certain genres and certain genres and themes in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like, Dungeons and Dragons is terrible for playing other things. It's really good at playing Dungeons and Dragons, but generally, a lot of times that when they come out, that thing already exists and they've done a better job of it. So
Right.
you're just better off doing it. I understand, like, it's familiar or
Right.
whatever, but that's my preference anyway. It's your game. You can do it. You can play it however you want.
Right. Right. Well, if you think about it, isn't every game just basically D&D with a twist? Since the original came out, what have they done that's not rolling dice and describing what your character's doing? You can't, I mean, right? If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have them.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's all based off of that. Although, so there's definitely mechanics that support
Oh yeah,
styles of
right.
play better. Is all.
Exactly.
I guess that's like the main thing. Like even like guns don't work very well in D&D.
Yeah. Well, some people have managed to make it work pretty good. With the Swords and Wizardry, somebody reskinned that James Spawn for White Star, which is a science fiction,
Hmm.
and he did a pretty good job of it. And for ship combat, he just did a modified version of melee combat so that there's not 2 different rule systems. He kept it fairly simple, and I think it works pretty good.
I think they're trying to build a con in the chat now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because I guess someone had asked, how do you find how do you find the smaller cons in your area or whatever? But,
I've got an article on my website that links back to like 3 or 4 other websites, as well as Wikipedia have lists of different conventions. And so you can plug it in. This is my country, this is my state, or this is my region in the country if you live out in the boonies somewhere. And you can find the closest cons to you that way. I don't remember what the name of the article was, but you should be able to find it on my search bar.
yeah, if you go to his website and search, and I imagine if you put search conventions, it'll probably be in
Right.
that list that comes up.
Yeah, exactly.
Zarif Gaming, no con for New Mexico. I guess that's how they also came about it. They're kind of talking about like not having small cons, and someone had mentioned about starting one. Although,
Right.
and that's definitely something Nerdarchy has looked into, and doing more. We definitely want to do more live events to hang out with people, and like that. And that's one of the reasons why we are going to more cons, just to since the infrastructure's already there. Why not tap
Right.
into it?
Right.
And it's a lot of fun to meet the different people in the
Oh yeah.
industry. Uh, you're meeting up with people maybe you talk to online all the time, but you never actually see them face to face.
Oh yeah. Well, I know you really like Satine, and she's a lot of fun. Uh, I met her at my first GaryCon last year. I went to a panel on podcasting, and I happened to know Adam Miscavige of Drink Spin Run because I met him at Marmalade Dog and got my introduction to DCC through him. Well, I went to that kind of interested, and Satine was there because she is part of the game game science podcast with Chad Parrish through the TSR Podcast Network. And after that, we got to talking, and I had no idea who she was, other than she was on this podcast. And so we just got to talking and hit it off as friends. And it's just, she is one smart cookie. I tell you what, she is no dummy, and her energy, that she's that way in person. She is just 100 miles an hour with enthusiasm, and you get her on D&D, and man, she is excited about it.
I got to meet her in Origins, so that was kind of cool.
So you
Her
know
and Rudy,
oh yeah, he's cool
absolutely.
too. I met him at this past Gen Con.
They let me move things around for them when
Yeah.
they're setting up.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep.
So yeah, so that was cool. And then obviously we're going out to LA, so we're gonna go hang out with them. And then
I'm envious of that. I'd love to be able to do that.
And then the game in Gen Con. So there's so much stuff going on. But yeah,
right.
that for me, that's like the best part about doing this is like the friendships and relationships you get to build, interacting with the fans and meeting them. I was bummed out like the first day at Origins. I'm like, I haven't really seen anybody, and then they started coming in. And also we have to get better at figuring out how to hook up with people so that we can plug them into to a system so that we could like definitely I ran into enough people at Origins. We could have ran like 2 games, with different people easily from just the Nerdarchy fans. So,
well, usually you can find a corner here and there at a con that you could run a pickup game, or go back to somebody's room or run a game. There's lots of ways to run pickup games.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. We did Philly's Game Con, which they only did it 1 year. I was a little disappointed because it seemed like they had a really good turnout, but after delving into how cons actually work and the space, they probably didn't sell enough rooms and probably lost money is my guess.
That, or they couldn't get enough volunteers to do it again. Those are your 2 big things: is selling enough space in hotels, and if it's a big enough con that they need that, or getting enough volunteers to do it again. Because without the volunteers, it's not going anywhere.
No, I totally agree. And we all went there and volunteered to run games. But in hindsight, after I did it, like it'd have been just as easy to go and just playing games, and which I'm glad I didn't do, because I'm like, it was like $35 for the 3 days, so it was like nothing. I mean, that's
right. Yeah,
it's less than $10 a day. How do you get a full day's worth of entertainment for that little?
Oh yeah. Well, and then you meet, like you said, you meet new people that you find out, oh yeah, you're not from here. Oh, you're down over by where I live. Well, maybe we can get together and start playing a game.
And yeah, and that absolutely did happen. Is we did meet some people that are actually fairly local to us, and then we also had other people that showed up, and they're like, "We came to play with you," and I was like, and that's going back probably like 2 years from now. So
right.
So it's that part gets a little weird with that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Think, oh, I read your blog and I thought I'd come play in your game. And I'm like, oh wow, cool. That's just blows my mind when somebody comes up to me at a con and says they read my blog. I'm like, really?
So I guess it's the same. Like when I talk to like Satine or some of these other people, who are like, they're like celebrities to us,
Right.
and then
Right.
we're like almost like celebrities to other people. But I just see myself as like just a dude, right? I play
Oh yeah.
that
Yeah.
old dude that plays Dungeons and Dragons.
Right. Right.
I think like other people would just say someone that I'm someone that has never grown up, but
Yeah.
out in the Muggle world.
Right. Yeah. Still haven't figured out what I'm going to do when I grow up. So
Yeah, there you go. But hey, my wife would much rather me spend my Saturday nights throwing funny shaped dice than
exactly.
hanging out in strip clubs and partying and do what most of your coworkers are doing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So it's a good deal, and now it's getting really cool with my son getting into it.
Oh yeah. That was a blast when my sons wanted to play. Unfortunately, we haven't played since before my granddaughter was born. So she's 2.5 now. So that tells you how long it's been since we've managed to get together to play. But real life and all that. But my granddaughter's pretty cool. She sees, I want to play with your dice. I want to roll the big dice. And she'll get ready like she's going to throw like a baseball. I'm like, no, not that big one.
That's great. The kids love the dice. That is for
Oh, yeah.
sure.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean that is the problem where people kind of like normal life just gets in the way, and blocking
Right.
out, getting together, 4 to 6 adults with busy schedules. That is why the internet is freaking awesome, because we
Right.
got virtual tabletops. You can play on Google Hangouts, you can play on
Right.
Skype.
Right. Yeah. Well, in the games I play, we don't use the video because that kind of slows down the resources. We just play on audio. And we started with using Google Hangouts, but since they quit integrating with Roll20, the last couple sessions we've switched to using Discord. I think their sound's a little better if you're going to do an audio only game.
Okay.
Now, somebody said they can do video, but I haven't fiddled with it. I haven't had it long enough to fiddle with that.
Virtual tabletop or theater of the
This
mind?
theater of the mind with Discord, we still use Roll20 for the tabletop, but for the communication, we switched to using Discord because we don't use the video.
Yeah, I find a lot of people with Roll20 anyway use something else and just use the virtual tabletop
Yeah.
for the game. I mean, that's what even when we did it, we used, when I was playing the game in Canada, which is Twitch stream, that was, it was a Google call, and then it was all beamed over to Twitch, right. And we used Roll20 for the tabletop,
right.
Which that was the actually first game I ever played in using a virtual tabletop.
Yeah, that was my first too. I mean, the benefit is it's free and there's not a lot of technical requirements to get it to work. There's others that are free, but you've got to, not only do you need to know what you're doing, all your players need to have some level of knowledge or be coachable on how to do stuff, which I haven't tried those. So I can't really speak to how difficult it is, but Roll20, yeah, that's a really useful resource.
It's Roll20 is really easy. It's from the player's perspective anyway.
Right.
The GM looks like there's got a bit more going on. When I would play on the Twitch stream, Timmy, who was the GM, he kind of reminded me of like an orchestra conductor with everything going on.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
We are right around the hour mark, so we're going to wrap it up. Is there anything you want to leave the folks with?
Plug the TSR Kickstarter again for Top Secret. That's doing really well. They blew past their goal in 20 minutes when they opened, and they've got, I don't know, a week or week and a half left. So pretty good deal. You can get just the PDF for a pretty good price. It's a new rule set, but it's Merle Rasmussen, the guy who wrote the original. And Merle's a cool guy. He's really nice. What else? Yeah, read the multiverse.world blog. Got to plug that. Well, I guess go to Nerdarchy, right? Got to plug them. Oh, somebody else I'd plug would be, I don't know if you know who Pat Kilbane is. He's an actor that was on, wasn't Second City, was it? It was, oh, I forget what the group was. That I didn't watch that show, but he's doing a RPG history project, and he's got a Patreon for that, and he's doing interviews with a lot of the old school. So Satine is one of the people that he interviewed for that. So I really want to plug that because there have been a couple other D&D movies that had Kickstarters, and they've been tied up in litigation for years. And his movie's going to be done before they ever get out of litigation. So, and if you back him on Patreon, that'll help him do it that much faster. He's supposed to be, I think, having more of an announcement, perhaps around Gen Con, about how close it is to being done. But if you want to get in on the Patreon and maybe get your name in the credits, now's the time to do that.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. So there's another one going on then, because
Yeah.
Brian Stillman and Seth Pulaski and Kelly Schlegel, they're doing an Art of D&D documentary.
Yeah. I don't know if they kickstarted that one or not.
No.
I've seen it going on. His isn't kickstarted either because the Kickstarter burned people, because I backed one of the ones that's in litigation. So I got $50 I'd probably never see again. If I could, I'd get it from them and give it to the RPG History Project. And he's doing all kinds of cool interviews, and he's going back, because I backed the Patreon. I see some of the stuff he's doing behind the scenes, and it's just going to blow people's minds.
Well, I'm sure. Well, with the eye of the beholder, Seth is actually an attorney. Mm-hmm. So,
oh yeah.
So I'm sure he knows the ins and outs to keep them clear. But and not only that, it's a documentary, so I believe that gives them a lot more leeway, and they have a lot more. And Satine will actually be in that as well, I believe. The rumor is she was interviewed for it, and by rumor, I mean I was there when her and Rudy were interviewed.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that was cool. Yeah. So check out Follow Me and Die, and everything that Larry just spoke of. You can find the links to Larry, Follow Me and Die, and his other social medias in the description, as always, guys. And with that, until next time, stay nerdy.